if you have a $600 car payment, there is a decent chance that payment is not just transportation. It is a hidden $250,000 decision, not because the car costs that much, but because the payment steals what your money could have become. Picture average Dave at a dealership. Brand new SUV, plastic still on the screen, that new car smell that makes you feel like life is finally upgrading. The finance manager slides a paper across the desk, big friendly letters, $600 per month. Dave smiles. He thinks, that is totally manageable. He signs. Now I walk into the scene, grab the contract, rip it in half, and point above Dave's head. Because the real number floating over him is not 30,000 or 40,000 or whatever the sticker price was. It is a counter spinning toward negative 250,000, and that sounds insane. Until you do the math. You think you bought a car. The dealership knows you just sold your future. Today we are going to break down the modern auto loan system, why the monthly payment is the trap, and exactly how a $600 payment can quietly rob you of $250,000 over time. Quick disclaimer. This is general education, not personal financial advice. The dealership's magic trick is simple. They train salespeople to avoid negotiating the total price. They negotiate the monthly payment because if you focus on the payment, you stop asking the questions that protect you. What is the out-the-door price? What is the interest rate? How many months is this loan? What fees did you add? What is the total amount I will pay by the end? Instead, you ask one question that makes you easy to sell. Can I afford $600 a month? And the finance manager loves that question. Because almost any car can be made to fit almost any payment. Not by making the car cheaper, by stretching time. They stretch the loan from 48 months to 60 months to 72 to 84. The payment drops. You feel like you won, and the bank quietly gets paid more. You did not negotiate a better deal. You negotiated a longer sentence. Now here is why this is so brutal. A financed car is one of the worst financial products most people will ever touch because you are paying interest, which makes it more expensive, on an asset that is depreciating, which makes it less valuable. You are bleeding from both arms every month. The bank charges you for borrowing money, and the car loses value because it is a car, so you pay more for something that is worth less, and the payment disguises that reality. If you want proof, ask one simple question. If you financed a car today, and tomorrow you had to sell it, would you get back what you paid? Almost never. That gap is depreciation, and the loan does not care. Now let's quantify the damage. New cars fall off a cliff in the first few years. A common rule of thumb is that a new car can lose around 10 to 20% the moment it becomes used, and something like 60% over 5 years, depending on the brand, mileage, and the used market. So if you drive off the lot and the car drops in value immediately, that loss is real, even if you never look at it. It is like lighting money on fire in slow motion. And here is the psychological trick. People do not panic about depreciation because it is invisible. Nobody sends you a monthly bill called depreciation fee. If they did, people would stop buying new cars tomorrow. Instead, you see a monthly payment, and you assume that payment is normal adult life. It is not. It is a voluntary tax on your future. Now here is the main event, the opportunity cost math. This is the part that changes how you see every car ad forever. Let's say Dave signs up for a $600 monthly payment for 5 years. That is 60 payments. Now imagine a different version of Dave. Instead of buying a brand new car, he buys a reliable used car in cash, something in the $10,000 range. The kind of car that is not exciting but starts every morning. Now Dave has no car payment. So he does something boring. He invests the $600 per month instead. Not day trading, not crypto roulette, just a diversified long-term approach. Like a low-cost index fund strategy, as returns are not guaranteed. But we can use a reasonable long-term assumption to illustrate compounding. Assume 9% average annual growth over time as an example. After 5 years of investing $600 per month, Dave ends up with roughly $45,000 to $46,000, and that is just from redirecting the payment. Now here is where the $250,000 number appears. Most people stop the math after 5 years, but the real cost of the car payment is what happens next. If Dave leaves that money alone and lets it compound for another 20 years, that $45,000 to $46,000 can grow into about $250,000, give or take, depending on actual returns. That is the part nobody tells you in the finance office. Your $600 payment is not just buying leather seats. It is deleting the seed money for your financial independence. You traded $250,000 for a heated steering wheel, and if that feels exaggerated, remember what compounding is. It is not the first 5 years that make you wealthy. It is the decades after that. The payment steals the early dollars, the strongest dollars you will ever have. Here is a simple question. If someone offered you a heated steering wheel today, but you had to write them a check for $250,000 in your 40s, would you take the deal? Of course not. But that is what the monthly payment structure hides. It makes a massive decision feel small. Now, even the $600 payment is not the true cost, because financed cars come with extra monthly drag people forget to include. First, insurance. When you finance, the lender often requires full coverage because they are protecting their collateral, so your insurance bill is often higher than it would be on a cheaper paid-off car. Second, taxes and registration can be higher on newer, more expensive vehicles depending on where you live. Third, maintenance. Yes, new cars have warranties, but they also push you into dealer service schedules. Higher tire costs, higher parts costs, and expensive technology failures later, so that $600 payment can easily become something like $600 payment plus $100 to $200 extra insurance difference, plus maintenance averages over time. And suddenly you are looking at $850 per month of total lifestyle drag. And that is the real number that blocks wealth building, because most people cannot invest $850 a month, but they can afford it when it is disguised as a car. That is how the trap works. Now let's make it even more real with a side-by-side outcome. Two people, both age 25. Finance Frank buys a $35,000 truck. He finances it at about $600 a month. He upgrades every 5 years, trade-in, new loan, repeat. Frank always has a nice truck. Frank also always has a payment. Now cash car Carl. Carl buys an ugly but reliable $8,000 hatchback. It is not a flex, it is transportation. Carl invests $600 a month instead. Same cash flow, different direction. Fast forward to age 45. Frank is still working 50 hours a week, not because he is lazy, but because his lifestyle requires constant payments. He has a nice truck and not much invested. If Frank loses income, things get tight immediately because the payment treadmill does not pause. Carl looks boring at the stoplight, but Carl has an investment account that has been growing for 20 years. Carl can upgrade his car later in cash if he wants to, and it barely affects his life. Carl's money buys choices. Frank's money buys appearances. Frank looks rich on the road. Carl is rich at the bank. And that is the difference between being stuck middle class and building real financial momentum. So let's summarize. Never negotiate based on the monthly payment. The monthly payment is how the finance manager hides the total cost, hides the interest, and stretches your decision across years so it feels harmless. Financing a depreciating asset is a wealth killer. You pay interest while the thing loses value, and the true price of the car is not the sticker price. It is the opportunity cost of what that payment could have become. That $600 per month is not just transportation. It is either a permanent chain to the bank or a monthly investment in your future freedom. Final thought. The system wants you to believe a car payment is just a normal part of being an adult. It is not. It is a voluntary tax on your future. Stop giving your wealth to the bank. Now, if you currently have a car payment, drop your interest rate in the comments, just the rate, and if you want more breakdowns like this, hit subscribe.